In episode 4, you get a little bit of a backstory on Janine before the events of Gilead happened. She was working a waitress job, she already had a kid, and she got pregnant. She booked an appointment with what she thought was an abortion clinic, but instead, it was the exact opposite. It was a clinic where they try to convince women to keep their baby. And the woman did a number on Janine. I mean, she really got her thinking. Janine ended up going to the abortion clinic and feeling really guilty about making the decision. But the doctor at the clinic convinced her that what the people at the other clinic were peddling was just fear tactics. But with already having a kid and a job that didn't pay that well, Janine just really couldn't afford another mouth to feed. Now, modern day Janine is in denial about what she just witnessed. But June convinces her that they have to keep moving. And eventually, they end up in a railroad depot. Janine wants to head up to Boston. She wants to get to Canada, but June says, no, we're heading west and we're finding Mayday. And they're able to sneak onto a tanker, but when June jumps into it, it's full of milk. And she's freezing, but she doesn't want to freeze alone, so she convinces Janine to jump in. A soldier then comes and locks the hatch, which forces Janine and June to dunk under the milk and hide. But when the train starts moving towards Chicago, the milk starts sloshing all over the place, and both women are having trouble staying afloat. Luckily, though, June is able to find a lever to release the milk, and now they're just freezing cold. Both women are pretty agitated about the fact that they're freezing their ass off, and Janine asks June, what is this secret plan you have, other than just heading to Chicago and trying to find Mayday? And the truth is, June doesn't really have one. And she's taking offense to the fact that Janine, of all people, the woman who needs to be taken care of every day, has the audacity to question her about her plan. The conversation's getting more and more contentious. And Janine tells June that when they were at the farm, Alma convinced them to stay and wait for June. And then she asks the important question, did you give us up to the eyes? And June admits, yeah, I did. But it was because of the fact that they had Hannah, and I wasn't sure what they were going to do with her. She then looks at Janine and says, you would have done the same thing. But Janine says, you don't know that. I would have had a different plan, a better plan. June yells at her, what you would have done was stupid and dangerous, and I would have had to save your ass again. But Janine fires back, what we're doing now, is stupid and dangerous. I can tell you this, I wouldn't have told them where we were. You know that's why those girls are dead. And June is pretty hurt by this comment, so she walks over to Janine and says, I should have left you a long time ago. And then the two women just sit in silence until abruptly the train stops and they hear gunshots outside. June tells Janine we have to go outside because if they're attacking a Gilead train, then it's definitely not Gilead. And when they exit the hatch, they see a bunch of Gilead soldiers shot dead. And then they see the rebels who are attacking the train. And they're a little bit shocked. But then one of the rebels notices them and demands to know who the hell they are. June tells the woman, whose name is Teresa, we're not armed. We're just trying to get somewhere safe. Teresa calls over the leader of the rebel group, a guy named Steven, and he is shocked at what he's looking at. 2 handmaids in the flesh. Teresa tells Steven they're walking targets. But June yells back, hey, we got this far without getting caught. We'll do anything you say because we need you. Steven then gives them permission to jump in the truck because they got to get the hell out of there. They've been there too long. Janine, though, is a little bit reserved. She doesn't know who these people are, and she asks June, are they Mayday? And June admits, I don't know, but they're on our side, so we got to go with them. Janine and June hop in the back of the truck and head to the rebels' camp, and as they're driving through the city, it looks like an absolute war zone. But when they get to where the rebels are stationed, which looks like an abandoned factory, they head up to Steven's office. He makes an offhanded comment like, I can't believe I'm looking at actual sex slaves in America. And June reminds him, that wasn't America, that was Gilead. June then asks him for food for Janine because she's starving and says we need a place to stay. But Steven says this isn't a charity. What we just stole from that train is the first supplies we've gotten in weeks. June tells him, we're not asking for charity. You have no idea what we've done. We can be useful. And after thinking about it for a little bit, Steven tells Teresa, get them some food and clothes. But as both June and Janine are walking out, Steven asks, wait, which one of you are going to stay with me? And June is pretty disgusted, saying, that's not what I meant. To which Steven says, yeah, but that's what you've got. So June tells him, well, it's not going to be Janine. Then turning to Teresa and making sure that Janine gets some warm food, some good clothes, and telling Janine, I'll be fine. The same guy that was so disgusted that there were, quote, sex slaves in America, then stands up and unbuttons his pants, and June gets on her knees. Steven's such an asshole, he actually says, you're probably used to this, but June is visibly uncomfortable. I mean, she's literally shaking, to the point where Steven suddenly grows a conscience and says, hey, I'm not going to force you to do this. So June stands up and says, you're not Mayday, are you? And Steven asks, what's Mayday? June walks out, finding Janine at the clothes. There are tons of clothes because most of the stores were stocked when the war broke out. We can't stay here. We got to go someplace else. We'll find someplace safe. Janine convinces June that she probably should change first before they head out, and June does that. ditching her handmaid's garb for some just normal clothes. But when Janine finds her, Janine hands her a piece of bread, saying, "Here, you should eat." And then sitting down next to her, saying, "That wasn't so bad. He thinks my eye patch is cool." And June never anticipated that Janine would take her place giving this guy oral. She apologizes to Janine, but Janine says it's okay. But it's not. And June is questioning if she made the right decision. Now, up in Canada, Moira meets with Rita to let her know that there's no record of Rita's sister or her nephew entering Canada. All hope isn't lost, though, because Catholics are really good at forging documents, so they might have snuck into the country illegally. But it's not a good sign. Moira does promise to keep looking, and Rita thanks her for checking. Moira has also shown up because Serena has requested Rita meet with her, although Moira has no idea why she wants to meet. Rita's a little concerned, though, because she was deposed, she told the lawyers everything, and she figures that Serena's going to be really mad with her. But Moira convinced her to go, saying, "I know a lot of women who would want to say their piece to her face." So Rita goes and meets with Serena, where Serena hands over a picture of her sonogram. It's going to be a boy. Rita says, "I didn't know the commander could. He must be beside himself right now." But Serena tells Rita, "I haven't told him." And it doesn't seem like Serena plans to. Serena figures that God chose this moment when they were split to give her this gift. Rita then tries to give the sonogram picture back, but Serena says, "No, that's for you to look at whenever you want." Serena says it's really nice to have a friend, and then the two women pray together. But then later that day, Mark shows up with a bunch of documents for Rita. And it's from Serena's defense attorney. Also, they can prep Rita for the stand. The defense is going to claim that Serena was under extreme duress put on her by her husband. The problem is Rita had no idea this was coming. Mark tells Rita that Serena was moved by her visit and that the two share a strong bond. But instead of rushing to Serena's lawyers, Rita rushes to meet with Fred Waterford. And Rita's a lot less comfortable with Fred than she was Serena. When Fred says, "It's nice to see a friendly face," Rita reminds him, "We're not friends." She then walks over to Fred and hands him the picture of the sonogram and tells him, "You deal with your family. It's not my job anymore, and I thank God for that every day. I'll pray for your son." And then she walks out, leaving the commander in complete shock that he's going to be a dad. Thanks for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you don't. Be nice in the comments section. Nasty comments hurt my feelings. I work hard on these. If I make a mistake, it happens. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen, it'll be up soon. Sharing is caring. Put it on your MySpace page or your away message. And check out my podcast, Scene Invaders, wherever you listen to podcasts.